Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the TED Show. I had to take yesterday off because I had some kind of pollen, or I don't have any pink eye, I'm sorry, but it's something like that. So you feel safe now that you shook my hand and I told you that live on air.
I've been told my immune system's really good after working with children.
I bet. So I think it was pollen eye because the pollen's so bad. I'm with Rob Prater, right?
Yep.
I said it right.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know you can hear us and see us. Dave Benson, I'm so glad you're on this show today. Dave is a security expert. He's been on the show before. Tony Figueroa. So let us know you can hear us and see us. Just do the thumbs up. We are at the Citrus Club and enjoying the view. And Rob is running for Orange County chair for the school board. Correct?
Correct.
So I think that the topic that we're going to talk about, school safety and everything that goes along with that, is on everybody's mind, especially after Parkland. So it couldn't be any more timely that you're on the show. And I appreciate you being willing to come on and talk. So welcome.
I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.
Been following the show for a while now. It's unfortunately, I was really looking forward to coming and sitting on the big set.
No big set, and you don't have to worry. Like normally, you're going to want to look at me. This is something I tell all the guests online. You just want to look at the camera. Don't worry about making eye contact with me.
I can see you right there.
See, now you can see me. So welcome. So yes, we met on Facebook. I think today's actually the first day we've met in person. Maybe.
Yes,
okay, good.
Yep.
So yeah, I know the big sets for that Friday night Citrus Club thing, which was amazing last Friday. Thank you guys for tuning in and being a part of it. But I'm very excited about the show in a kind of a reserved way because I do want to talk about some of the things that are going on. But before we dive in, everybody always likes to know a history. So tell us a little bit about Rob.
Well, I started off the old-fashioned way, as they say. In 2005, I started off as actually a substitute teacher, and then just moved my way up through the ranks and got my first instructional position over at Millennia Elementary back in 2008. And we know in 2008, the big housing crisis was going on.
It was crazy.
And so I walked in and asked my principal if I could go down and talk to some school board members, and she said fine. And next thing we did was we talked about putting together a transportation committee. Everybody was looking to cut. And to this school board's credit back then, not one teacher lost their job, even through all that housing crisis. I was one of only 15 teachers even hired that year. And at the end of the day, with that transportation committee that Vicki Bell headed up with a school board member, we saved $46 million for the district, according to the Orlando Sentinel report. So,
did you always want to be a teacher?
I always wanted to be, since I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a teacher. And always, as life goes on and different things, you get sidetracked. I had a very sad experience at 21, and which led me to be asked to sit on our benefits committee, and they had taken away the teachers' free health insurance, and so I worked on our fringe benefits committee with 9 other people. All did a great job. Diana Moore was the CTA president back then, and we were able to spend 2 years working, and we were able to bring back a plan that the teachers and the bus drivers, custodians now have access to a free health insurance for themselves, and it's very low cost to their families. So it was another school-wide committee that I had worked on, and then eventually I even worked with helping with our pharmaceutical. Excuse me. So,
but you're not. So you obviously always want to be a teacher, but you're definitely not from Alabama or the South. Tell us where you're from.
I'm originally from Lynn, Massachusetts.
There it is.
So yeah, you're going to hear a little bit of accent.
I love that accent, though. That's awesome.
Well, actually, I know we only have 30 minutes, but people from Boston don't have an accent. We were here first.
Oh yeah. God, I haven't heard that before, but I like it. That's pretty cool.
We were here first. Everybody else has the accent. So.
All right. Well, we already have a couple of questions, and obviously we're going to get questions, and we will try to get to all of them. And if we can't, Rob will obviously answer those later on when we post the video. But Jeff, teachers don't get paid enough, and we're going to talk about school
safety.
That's our primary, but we can field questions about teachers in general.
Oh, absolutely.
Teachers don't get paid.
Off the table.
Nothing's off the table. Did you hear that? Nothing. He told me that actually earlier. Teachers don't get paid enough as it is, nor have sufficient resources for doing their jobs properly. Double their pay for qualifying and brandishing firearms. So we are gonna talk about that, which I think is a very serious conversation.
Yes.
I honestly believe that that's on everybody's mind. I think that the Florida legislature, you'll know more about this, but just passed so that they could, each district maybe explain to everybody how that's actually going to come down.
Well, it's going to be optional. They're not going to force any teacher to carry any firearms. It's going to be optional. Now, again, each district school board will vote on whether or not they would allow a teacher to carry a firearm. And I can tell you right now, at the last school board meeting, all 8 school board members that are sitting right now have come out and said that they will not allow teachers to carry firearms in Orange County Public Schools.
So it goes down to the county gets to decide, the school board.
The school board. The school board decides. In other words, Tallahassee. Just same with our budget. Tallahassee gives us a chunk of money, and however way they want to disperse that $2 billion budget, it comes down to the school board working with all the different. Here comes a Boston accent right now. Departments. And
wow.
And where right now we've purchased 100,000 electronic devices, and by I think it's 2021. I know it's 2021. All students will have a one-to-one device that they will work off of in the classroom. So I always like to start off with something positive, and that is that this sad event, awful event that happened in Parkland, it is the last one, but not the first one. And in 2014, the superintendent, they hired a consultant firm. It was a 500-page document on where we can improve.
Which superintendent? Down there or up here?
Right now, no, right here.
Here in Orange County.
Dr. Jenkins. And it was a 500-page report Dr. Jenkins was given on the areas that we can improve. Now, we're all lifelong learners in every profession, and we want to continue. So I want to praise her for, after the Sandy Hook event that happened just before Christmas in 2012, that she took the initiative and said, okay, what do we got to do to make our students safe? Now, we've taken many steps to do that. What I really want the general public to understand, safety is a many-pronged system, from doing background checks on teachers to making sure the lighting in our parking lots are adequate. We have students that are at athletic events till late at night. They got to walk to their cars. What we're hearing a lot of, and what a lot of people have come to me on the campaign trail. And I have been. Yesterday, I went from Apopka to Lake Nona, and I heard it in both places. We need metal detectors. Okay. Well, first off, do we put metal detectors on every door? Do we just put them on the front door? How do we put them? How do we make it look so that they would blend into the exterior of the door? We don't want our schools looking like jails. We don't want to scare our students. We have elementary students, starting at 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. We have a police officer working at our schools right now, and I have students that are 5, 6 years old coming up and going, why is a police officer here? So they're because he's never been there before, or once a week they come and they do this program that they do. But to be there every day, there's been questions asked. So,
do we have schools in the county that do have metal detectors already, or are there none right now?
No.
Okay, so there's none out there, and then I'm just going to ask some of the questions I'm seeing. Wouldn't metal detectors, that's one thing, but it's all about the perimeter as well. You could have a metal detector going into the school.
Correct.
But you can't always have what are you going to have a metal detector on every single inch of the perimeter around the school?
And the chairman, Sublette, brought that up. He requested that we look at every perimeter of every school. Okay. But what does that mean? Does that mean, are we looking for damaged fences? Are we looking to see if the fences aren't high enough? Are we going to put security gates at every school so that you got to be buzzed in? He didn't elaborate. And again, when it comes to security, the general public has to understand, you can't show your hand, or the bad guys are going to know where there may be weak spots in the school. So you have to be, you've got to be vigilant, but you've got to be, at the same time, you've got to be careful on, what information you're giving out to the public. What I can tell you is, as the chair, I have a plan that if the rest of the members want to put metal detectors in, I've got a plan on how to do that without the student even knowing they're there. And I shared that with Ted before the show. What'd you think?
I love the idea. Are you allowed to talk about it, or you're not?
Well, again, until I'm the chair, I'm going to keep that close to my vest.
Well, but I think there has to be some sort of plan. Now, can you take can you try to help us rationalize the other side? Because and by the other side, I mean obviously our school board is going to vote or has voted not to arm our teachers. But what's the thought process from the legislature on arming teachers? Is it because they think every teacher should really truly have a gun, or do you feel like that was more reactionary, knee-jerk, just to do something that seemed like it would put a Band-Aid on it at the time? What's the rationale on giving a teacher a handgun or whatever gun they're going to have in the classroom? What's their rationale? What's that side's rationale on it, which is obviously in opposition to what Orange County's is?
Yeah, or in mine.
And yours.
I don't believe we should be arming teachers. Teachers teach, students learn. The great Orange County Police, Sheriff's Department, they are qualified to serve and protect. And that's my position on that. But you're right, they're reacting because it happened. And 3 things on why we haven't done anything in the past to the extent that we're doing now is because people think it can't happen here. It's the same thing with getting sick. Oh, it can never happen to me.
Right.
You hear the same thing. People don't wear their seatbelts. Oh, I'll never get in an accident. I've been in an accident in 20 years. So people think it just can't happen to them. And the other thing is we can't afford it. So there's always, again, the cost factor. And I heard one school board member state, well, if we have to cut something, then we're not going to do some type of security measures. And again, our drills, the students have been drilled and drilled and drilled. And there's a point now where, it's like, one time I ran a drill in the middle of testing. It was my first year and part of leadership at the school I'm working at now. And, needless to say, it didn't go over so well. And they were like, we're in the middle of a test. Well, the bad guy doesn't care. He doesn't care if you're in the middle of the test. He doesn't care if you're in the middle of lunch.
Correct.
So when I go to student code of conduct with all my students, we talk about all these different scenarios. And so the fire alarm went off by mistake in our old building right in the middle of lunch. Our students knew exactly what to do. They were out of the building in 30 seconds. Teachers knew to meet them there with their rosters. Everything went perfect, and they just left their lunch. We went back, we fixed up their lunch, and the day went on. But everybody was safe, and everybody knew exactly what to do right in the middle of lunch.
Right.
Because you just never know.
You don't know where it's going to come from. Mary's got a question. Hey, Mary, who's going to pay for the training, qualifying, legal representation, counseling? They're subject to being sued if they carry and subject to being sued if they don't. They'll become the first target of a shooter just because they might be carrying. Teachers are quitting over standardized testing. We're going to lose more. Ted, they're passing the buck.
She's right.
You're 100% right, Mary.
Mary, you're right.
I agree with you.
They're passing the buck. They're asking teachers to do the sheriff's job. And I can tell you right now, I spoke with a sheriff today, and he says he doesn't want teachers doing it.
I was going to ask you, what has law enforcement's response been?
Talked to a lot of them. They do not want teachers carrying guns. And and to the point where even if they were in the military before, you got to understand, when you're in a crisis situation, you have 18 to 22 children in the elementary level and 25 if you go up into the middle school level that you are responsible for, okay? And if it's an emergency situation, there are protocols in place. You are to lock the door, shut off the lights. The door should already be locked, but let's just say for whatever reason it wasn't. Check your door, make sure it's locked, lights go off, everybody ducks and covers. You see people putting books in front of their faces and so forth. So there's procedures. And one of the procedures is don't open that door. Even if somebody's banging on that door, you don't know who it is. If it's a child, you don't know if
There's a teacher down in Parkland that's under some scrutiny for that because of what happened, and I don't know enough to say it. I just know that there are some students that have come out because of the locked door policy.
Yeah.
So Rebecca says the teachers in Parkland just had the training in case something happened, and that's why we didn't have more loss. It just needs to be emphasized.
Yeah, and one of the great things, and Chief Holmes, who we OCPS has brought on their own police force, and so he redid our emergency procedure book, and and being part of leadership, or if you want to call me a nerd, I actually read the whole thing. So, and one of the things in there is if we have a situation like that, make sure in your announcement, if the fire alarm goes off during an assault assailant, don't leave the class, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to pull the fire alarm during, if there is an assault assailant on campus, to get the kids to come out in the hallways. So, it's in the procedure book. So he's done a great job revamping the procedure book on in every area for hurricanes and tornadoes. Severe weather drills. We go, fire drills. He has revamped everything so that it's more efficient. It gets the students out of the building faster. He's done a great job. So now, but the questions we really want to be asking, we talked about perimeter earlier.
Right.
Okay. And do we need more surveillance cameras out on these perimeters? Do we need higher fences? Do we need more people watching these cameras? It's as a teacher, I don't even know how many people are watching all of these cameras. We have millions of dollars we've spent on surveillance cameras, so how many people are watching them? So this is something that we questions that need to be asked. Now, will they give the answer? Probably not, but what it will do, it will get the school board to go and evaluate if we need more. So they're not going to answer it, and I can tell you right now, if I was a school board chair, I wouldn't answer it either. But what it will make me do is research it.
Well, and I think some of the things, Mary, I'll make your statement just a second. I think some of the things that teachers especially, even before the latest with Parkland, is that teachers already feel like, based on their base salary, they're spending a gazillion dollars out of it just to keep their students with basic supplies and things that they have to do. And so you're trying to require them to have a handgun on top of it, spend the money on a handgun or a gun of some kind, and they can't even get basic supplies to them on a regular basis that they're having to pull out of their own pockets. So it's just an interesting thing. I think that's the biggest uproar you hear from, if you read anything on social media, on either side really, is that teachers are already inundated and overwhelmed with what they're having to do. Adding a gun to it, adding armed teachers to it, just seems like it is not helping the problem.
Yeah, it's not going to happen in Orange County. When I'm school board chair, the chair has 2 votes. They both will be no guns. Teachers will not carry guns. Yes, teachers are underpaid. Unfortunately, the chair cannot fix that problem, and I could sit here and tell you.
I thought that was what this whole show was about.
I'm sorry. I could sit here and tell you and be like a lot of past politicians and tell you I'm going to go in there and I'm going to raise all the teachers' salaries, but that is a bargaining position through the union.
That's correct.
And through the district, and they can come up. Now, what I'm hoping for is, because, as a teacher right now, that it is more than 2.2% like we got last year. But whatever they bargain on is what we will vote on. So that's part of the teachers' jobs, to go to your representatives at the union and tell them, listen, we will not settle for anything less than this.
I also think that it's because the teachers have been complaining not just about wages, but about the fact that they're providing so many of the supplies, and the legislature has continued to say, we don't have any more money, and then out of nowhere, in about a second, they had all this money to arm every teacher.
And again, it's a political year, and we know the governor's running for Senate. So again, You look back 4 years ago when he was running for re-election, all the teachers got a $2,500 raise. So, politics is politics. One thing about the school board, try to keep politics out of it. This is about the children, this is about the teachers, the parents, the community, and, that's what we have to focus on. What I can tell you about me, and you asked earlier, the one significant difference between me and even the current chair and the people I'm running against is a lot of people don't realize the school board is a part-time position. I will not treat this position as a part-time position. I plan on treating it as a full-time position. I am an educator. I will treat this as a full-time position because education starts at 7 in the morning and in many cases doesn't get done till 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
So that is my position. It's not going to be a part-time job for me.
Rebecca says, she said a whole bunch of stuff about how shameful, everything that I said too. I agree with you, Rebecca. Budget comes out at 2 p.m. today. Is that what's happening? Okay. Is that the big budget, the Florida budget, the county budget? Which budget, Rebecca?
No, that's Tallahassee.
That's got to be Tallahassee. So the big budget comes out at 2 p.m. today.
Yeah, but we are, as a school board, we already know it's very minimal what they're increasing for our students per student.
It's interesting.
And
Mary says, I love that comment. The average annual cost of a police officer is about $149,362. This includes salary, benefits, blah blah. Let's give teachers guns. It's cheaper. Obviously, that's tongue in cheek, and she's being sarcastic.
Yeah, I get it.
So, but that's the rationale. I think that's some of the thought processes. We can't afford $149 for an additional officer per year, but we can afford to give the teachers.
I'm all for giving teachers more money. But right now, Florida is 34th in the nation in pay, and we're the third largest country in the United States. Of the 67 counties, we're 25th in pay. Okay, and we're obviously the fourth largest district in the state. Now 9th in the whole country. So
these are things I did not know. We're 34th.
We are third. Last I've checked, we are 34th in the nation in pay.
Interesting.
And but it's gone up. We were 44th. We were really low. And
when I moved here from New York, New Jersey, when I was 11, there was such a huge difference in my education. From coming from New York, they actually thought I was gifted. Man, were they wrong. But that was because the school system and the teachers were paid more up there. It had a little bit, at the time anyway, I don't know if it's still like that.
No, it's still
it had
New York,
a different,
number one, number two.
Yeah, it had a very different approach to teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a great education here. I went to Colonial High School, Liberty Middle School, UCF, so I'm not complaining, but I did notice, even as an 11-year-old coming down here, what a difference in the education and the approach from the teachers.
Yes. So it's pay is always a topic, but teacher retention. I mean, we know that we have to do something better. You talked about the school supplies. Part of my platform is I want to get together with the community. Probably Walmart, and I don't want to point out, I mean, if there's other companies too that want to do this, but when we talk about school supplies, they're for the whole year, and all they do is they purchase them in at the beginning of the year. Well, right after Christmas, we need to do a second school supply drive where we send home another list to the parents. Walmart, puts the crayons on sale for $25 a box because Mary knows that those crayons are like this big by the time Christmas comes.
Right.
Now the teachers, she's right. They're going and spending. We got a $500 bonus this year. I want to thank the superintendent for that. But I can tell you right now, the majority of the teachers went out and replenished their supplies with that bonus.
What would happen? I'm not a teacher. I taught at UCF, so John can't believe I went to Colonial. Yes, I went to Colonial. I taught at UCF, so
my kids went to Colonial.
I loved Colonial. I had a great time. I think I got a great education there. But what happens when they do run out? And what happens if you don't have the money to get the supplies? Do the kids just go without? That's a real question that I don't know the answer to. What if the teacher doesn't have the cash to buy supplies that, in my opinion, somebody else should be purchasing for their classroom?
I've never experienced that.
I don't know. What happens?
In my experience in 13, almost 14 years in the education system here, all CPS, every teacher I've ever met, every principal, they love their students. And And so if a teacher didn't have something, they would ask another teacher.
That's correct. And Rebecca's right. So we used to do the same thing. Parents kicked in almost
you
always.
Volunteers and
it's just a lot of pressure on a human being who's trying to form and help and create creativity in our little ones and our human beings so that we're a better world. And so for them to have to worry about those things. This is not Rob's problem. I'm just talking about in general some of the things that come up that teachers, and that's why the whole gun thing I think is just almost has a humorous thing to it. I just can't believe that was a real legit answer to the problem. So what are some of the other things in the school safety that they can do? We're doing drills. Like my wife's in Orange County. She teaches in Orange County, and they're doing active shooter drills all the time. So how is that impacting? She says the kids are actually sometimes more afraid because of that. And so how is that across the board what's happening in the school system, and how do you feel about that?
It is a catch-22. I can tell you because I have a very serious voice. When I get on, I make it, I come across like it, and I've had people say, we really thought there was something was happening. And so I've tried to tone it down, but at the same time, they have to take it serious. They have to lock those doors. They have to, take cover. They have to stay quiet. I've said it over again. It would be my biggest nightmare if anything like that ever happened. And people think it's not going to happen to you. All right, and then you have cases like what happened down in Parkland. It's Sandy Hook, Columbine. One of the questions I asked the police officer today was, "Do you have a plan?" People forget even 9/11. What happened in 9/11? Was that only one place? No, there was multiple locations.
Right.
Do we have a plan in place if something happened in multiple locations? These are the questions parents need to ask our school board sitting members. These are the things that we need to ask the police. Do we have a plan? They're not going to tell you what the plan is, but if something happened in multiple locations at multiple times, and it could be two different types of events, but if they are of a serious nature where law enforcement is needed, how are you going to go about trying to figure out who goes where and what?
Well, that's also one of the things that, and again, I just like to talk about the vilification or what's going on with that one particular police officer down in Parkland. I don't know the whole story, and I would never claim to, but I feel like that there are multiple sides to that story, and I feel like that one particular officer and maybe the other 3 or 4 certainly got super vilified. I'm not supporting what they did, and I don't know enough about what they did, but that's what happened. So there are plans and things in place, and there are protocol. And what if your protocol, which I think was this particular case, isn't up to snuff if you haven't trained your officers for the specific protocol? Because there was a lot of going back and forth about, we thought this was the plan. No, this was the plan. And so I think that might have played a little bit into what happened down there. And yet you hear people who on the complete other side totally disregarded what they thought was the plan and went in and saved kids.
And you see a lot of people coming out with a lot of different suggestions and so forth. And then I've seen even videos. John, I'm going to get to that point about the Florida lottery in just a second. In all these videos, you only see one school and one person trying to get into classrooms in the hallway. And they showed where they had the smoke coming off the ceiling and so forth, and narrowing it down. One of the things that I asked the police officer is, are we patched in together? Is Orange County Sheriff and the OPD, are they patched in together? And one of the suggestions I made was, if we're not, we should be. In other words, every school has a number, and so we should. When a call comes in for a school, it should be a number, okay? So we're not calling the name of the school over. And then the drawings for that school should be sent to that laptop in that police car, because if it's in building 6, then that officer, to save time, instead of running to the front office, where is he? What's going on? He knows what building exactly it's happening. We know down in Parkland it was building 12. Did they have the plans to that building? Do they know where every entrance was? Did they know how many floors there were? How many classrooms there were? That plan needs to, be immediately sent so that there is an interchanging understanding of how that school looks, because we're building a lot of new schools, so things are changing. But we need to make sure we're connected to that. So that would be another question that you could ask. And again, they're probably not going to give the answer, but it might be an idea that.
Well, it's good to know. It's a good question to raise, because if the communication's not there, if they're not all communicating and not everyone has the plans, then everybody's kind of running like a chicken with their head cut off, because it is chaos. There's no way that it's not chaos, complete and utter chaos when something like that happens.
John, I've heard that thing about the Florida Lotto.
Talk about the Lotto. A couple people asked that.
And here's what I would encourage you, and this is my understanding, and if I'm wrong, then I have no problem saying, because I'm about 99% sure what I've been told about the Florida Lotto. What Tallahassee did with education, knowing that we have all this money coming in for the lottery. Okay, picture a bar graph. Okay, and I know I'm going to try to get in the screen. Let's say the bar graph is this. All right, and then the lottery money is over here like this. Well, what they did was they took that and lowered the education budget, took the Florida lottery money and just put it up top. So instead of us getting 120% towards our education funds, we're getting 100%. And all it is they just lowered again what we get in the our budget, and they're using the lottery money to plug it on top of that. So I appreciate the Florida Lottery helping us out. We have a lot of partners in ed that helps us out. Catherine Wright runs that program over at OCPS. She's done a great job running that program. But it's a great question, and from my understanding, it's a little misdeceiving.
And I think it's definitely a legit question. It comes up all the time. I hate to end this because I really want to continue talking. There are so many comments, Rob, and Rob will get to all of you, I promise, once we share the video. I'm going to give all of Rob's contact information, his campaign information, how to reach out to him, how to support him. I appreciate the fact that you reached out to me, because no candidate has reached out to me for your position, and I think that we have a very positive, powerful group here that watches this show, and I think it's awesome that you came on.
Well, I told the show's great. I got connected. I don't know how. I told Ted. I guess it was from somebody that I was a friend with, and the square popped up, and I started watching your show. And I'm going, wow, this is an awesome show. I mean, the enthusiasm. It's
all about you guys in the audience.
You bring the enthusiasm too to this program, and you can see how much you're growing, and your audience is growing too. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, and you keep up the good work. Or any parting words of wisdom for them before we sign off?
August 28th. Please come out and vote, and preferably vote for me, so that I can get in the school board chair.
Now there's where I can laugh. That's good.
Because
you should.
We need somebody with an education background in the school board chair, not somebody with a degree in media relations. We need somebody sitting in the chair that understands your child's curriculum, their safety, and how to speak with all the parties involved, so that teachers get compensated what they need to be compensated, keep their benefits, and we can make the school culture 100% better. There's so many facets to the school system, but it's the heart, and I see all these hearts going.
They love you. They're loving what you're saying. Well, that's awesome.
School is the heart of our community. Ask any realtor, because the first thing they do is they look, is that an A school? Because it brings up those real estate values too. But the schools are our heart of our community, and our students are our future, and we must teach them well. And we're going to develop better pathways for them to either go to college or to a vocational school. And check my website, because it's voterobprater.com, because we are going to be looking at improving our vocational programs here in Orange County.
Good. It's awesome. Welcome. I appreciate you being here, buddy.
All right.
Thank you guys. You guys were so good, and I promise you, Rob will answer everything once I post the video, and then you'll have his contact information where you can reach out to him, ask him more questions. And then when you ask him questions, give me some feedback. I'd love to hear more. This was a hugely important topic. It's on everybody's mind, and I think that it couldn't have come at a more important, critical time. So thank you for being willing to talk about that. I will, absolutely. He's awesome, right, guys? So So we love you. Thank you so much for being on, and I promise you Rob will get back to you, and so will I. Love you guys. See you at 3:30. I have my weekly show with David Swanson coming up, but I'll post about that later. We love you guys. Thank you. Oh wait, I'm supposed to do my thing. That's what I was told.